Looking at houses, keep running into multiple offer situations and not having any of your offers accepted? Well, in this video, I'm covering my top strategies to make your home offer stand out. So stay tuned. What's happening, everybody? This is Austin Weiss, your go-to real estate resource right here in the Chicagoland area. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap that bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. If you're brand new to this channel, I do a ton of videos all about what it's like to work, eat, live, and play right here in the Chicago Metro. If you ever have any questions about moving here or selling or investing in the Chicago area, you can always reach me my phone, text, email, days, nights, weekends, and I would love to simplify that whole process for you. Today's video is going to be a little bit about what's happening in the market, not only currently, but probably for the foreseeable future, and how to put together an offer to make sure that you put yourself in the best position to win the house. And I say this because the current state of our market is this. With the historically low interest rates, it's caused a huge influx of people actually shopping for houses, while the supply is very low because people are refinancing, deciding not to move for whatever reason, and just staying put, putting down roots. So with a lot of people looking with the low supply, what has happened to the prices is that they've gone way up, in turn causing appraisal issues and quite a few people bidding on the exact same house. I've run into several properties where they've had a dozen up to 24 different offers on the exact same property. So this video is going to be everything that you should know when putting together an offer, and kind of like my top 10 tips to make your offer stand out and put yourself in the best position to win that bidding war and beat out other offers. I'm not saying these work 100% of the time, and I'm not saying that you should utilize all 10 on every single offer, but you should pick and choose which ones make the most sense for yourself, your family, and the current scenario for that particular property and seller. And without any further ado, let's get into this video, but make sure you watch until the very end, because number 10 will actually be one of the most important things you could do with your offer when in a multiple offer situation. To kick things off, I cannot stress enough to find a quality real estate agent that knows how the game is played. Someone that is great at communicating not only with you, but the seller party as well, the seller's agent, your attorney, the lender, and the inspector, and knows how to gather important information. You would not believe how many times I've called the seller's agent and kind of asked one or two questions, and 10 minutes later on the phone, they finally are finished telling me the whole life story of that seller, why they're moving, their motivations, and what they would actually take for the house. I'm not saying it works every time, but it doesn't hurt to at least make that phone call. And I just want to reiterate, the seller does not and most likely will not disclose where other offers are at in a multiple offer situation. The only thing that you should be focusing on is if you can see yourself living in the property. If the answer to that question is a yes, then you need to ask yourself, at what cost are you willing to spend for that property? So figure that out with your agent. I'd be more than happy to go over that in more detail with you when we talk. Number 2 is write a seller's letter. This really depends on the scenario, but if it makes sense, it will play to the emotional side of the seller. And I've seen this work on both sides of the transaction, not only representing the buyer, but me representing the seller and encouraging the buyer to write that letter in order for my seller to make a quicker decision. So basically what you're going to do is just appeal to the seller why this house fits for your family. Talk about what you love and open up about how you plan to use some of the features of the home and the neighborhood. Next, we're going to actually talk about putting the offer together and making it stand out amongst all the other offers, making it squeaky clean, and making sure that you put yourself in the best position to actually win the house. So number 3 is going to be price. And the days of asking your real estate agent how much you could get off the asking price are pretty much over, at least for the foreseeable future. I would highly recommend you do not come in with a very low offer when houses are selling within a few days with many offers on the table. The conversation should really be, what do we need to do in order for our offer to stand out and put us in the best possible position to win the house? I would also recommend, just as a quick tip, that if you're pre-approved for a certain amount, whether that's $600,000, that you shop a couple price points below what you're pre-approved for. This will leave you wiggle room to negotiate, and if you do push up the price over the asking, that you can make up any appraisal shortfalls, which we will talk about later in this video. Number 4, when buying a house, putting a larger down payment will not only help you save thousands in the long run, but it will be more attractive to the seller because you have higher purchasing power and can overcome any appraisal shortfalls. If you don't have a high purchasing power, such as you're not putting down 20% or more, then some of the tips I would recommend doing is maybe searching for a house that needs a little bit of work that you could do on your own and kind of make your own, or looking for houses that have been overlooked and have high days on market. They typically have high days on market because they were either mispriced, mismarketed, and the realtor went through the house with their cell phone and took the photos, or some odd reason like that, and people just for some reason have overlooked them. Number 5 is consider offering waiving the appraisal. Now, if you're a cash buyer, this will not apply to you, so go ahead and skip ahead to the next section. But if you're taking out a loan, it doesn't mean your lender still won't order the appraisal. They have to in order to issue the loan dollars. But it means that you're willing, ready, and able to make up any difference in case of an appraisal shortfall. So what is an appraisal shortfall? It's essentially if you're buying a $500,000 house, the appraisal comes in at $490,000, the loan to value ratio is 80-20. The lender's only going to give you 80% of that $490,000. So you need to come up with any difference between the agreement price and the appraisal price. Now, this won't apply to everyone if you don't have extra cash on hand. That's why I was recommending, if you don't have high purchasing power, to utilize the different strategies I mentioned in the last section. However, if you do have this ability, definitely provide additional bank statements showing that you can make up any difference between the appraisal and the agreement price. Quick tip, make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Number 6, your pre-approval. So this is going to reassure the seller that you've actually been qualified to purchase their house. You honestly probably should not even be looking for houses unless you get a pre-approval in hand before, and when you submit your offer, you will have this attached with your offer and submit it to the seller. So the 3 most common types of loans are VA, FHA, and conventional, with VA and FHA requiring little to no down payment. However, there are stricter guidelines with the appraisal process that stresses the condition of the house. So all else being equal, conventional will most likely win out when competing against VA and FHA offers. Because of that reason, the seller won't have to fix up their house or make it in condition to meet the guidelines for those types of loans. Now, you want to have a lender that's in close communication with your real estate agent. When I'm representing the seller and we're considering an offer from a buyer, I always call their lender and ask a couple simple questions, such as how often have you worked with that particular realtor, how many deals have you closed, and what's the likelihood of this deal closing on a scale of 1 to 10 for that particular buyer. And the lender usually coughs up a bunch of information from those simple questions. It's going to be the same thing when I'm representing a buyer. I'm assuming that the realtor will call my lender, so I definitely have good relationships with quite a few lenders that I use and can recommend to you. Now, something that I would highly recommend is ask your lender if they offer any type of upfront underwriting, and definitely communicate this with the seller when submitting your offer, as this will make you a very strong buyer. Number 7, shortening contingency windows. So any time frame in the contract, I would try to make it way more attractive to the seller, such as closing date, earnest money deposit date, and any inspection period. You can always shorten and negotiate what those timeframes would be. Definitely consider offering non-refundable guaranteed earnest money, because typically if the contract were to be canceled, the buyer almost always gets their earnest money deposit back, leaving the seller hanging high and dry. So if you offer $500, $1,000 out of your entire earnest money deposit as non-refundable guaranteed money, it could be more attractive and make your offer stand out amongst many offers. Hey, quick tip, if there's any deadline for the offer submission on a property, make sure that you're adhering to that deadline. Any offer that's submitted afterwards, the seller is not going to take your offer very seriously, and you have a much better chance of being considered if you're within that window of time. Number 8, do not ask the seller for closing costs or any concessions. So basically what concessions would be is that you agree to one price, and also write into the contract that at closing, the seller is going to give you some amount back to help pay for any closing costs or anything that needs to be fixed in the house. So Essentially, this will weaken your offer, and it basically raises a flag to the seller that you're probably not the strongest buyer out of all the buyers who are bidding on their house, and that you're incapable of actually closing and paying for those closing costs. Now, if you're wondering what those closing costs are, I did a video all about them that you can watch right here. Number 9, offering to purchase the house as is. Now, you still have the right to do your inspection if you didn't waive that in your offer as well, but it basically tells the seller that you're not going to be nickel and diming them for every single little thing that's wrong with the house. Now, I typically recommend this for people that are looking at houses in fantastic condition, they're handy themselves, and or they're buying a house that they're going to be renovating anyways. Now, you could always consider purchasing the house as is up to a certain amount. So if there's something seriously wrong with the house that you discover in the inspection, at least you're covering your butt up to whatever that agreed upon price is. But purchasing the house as is will significantly differentiate yourself from many different offers. Last but certainly not least, number 10, our escalation clause. Now, in a multiple offer situation, I would highly recommend considering putting this escalation addendum attached to your offer and pre-approval. Essentially what this is say the property is listed at $500,000, it's getting multiple offers, and you think it's going to be pushed up over the asking price. So you still want to submit a very strong offer. So let's say you put an offer at $505 with the escalation addendum saying that you would potentially purchase the house up to $525. Now, what this does is, for some reason someone beats out your original $505 offer, you can put into your addendum that you're going to beat any offer by $1,000, $2,000 up to that $525 price point. So essentially this assures that you're still submitting a strong offer, that you're not going to be overpaying for the house, but if worst case scenario you do have to go up to your threshold, you're submitting some paperwork that says that you're willing and able to. Now, a lot of times they're going to be asking for additional bank statements, like I mentioned earlier, to make up for that appraisal shortfall. So don't shy away from providing more information. I think the more, the better, to assure that you can actually get your favorite house. And if you have any additional questions about any of these talking points that I mentioned in this video today, you're always welcome to give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email, and I would love to help you in any way with your move anywhere in the Chicagoland area. But until next time, I'll catch you guys later.